Steve Greenberg handpicked the Nick Jonas solo record off of his shelf of backlogged artists that they were going to drop or get rid of.
And he says, Kevin, this is the best thing. I would like to work with your son. And I found out there are brothers that are also doing music with him. Can I meet them?
The boys played a song that they had written called Please Be Mine.
Heard all of them sing together, and Steve thought, we can make this work.
Steve's the one who kind of pioneered Hanson back in the 90s, so this was kind of a no-brainer for him.
When we were first signed, it was amazing. But me and Kevin especially wanted to make sure we weren't jumping on somebody else's wagon. You know, this was Nick's thing. For Nick, of course, you gotta imagine he was a solo project at the time, so he could either take it one of two ways.
At first it was hard to accept. As a 12-year-old kid who just got signed to his own deal, writing a song with my brothers for what I thought was my record, it was a little tough at first.
And he said, well, give me a second. He bowed his head and just kind of closed his eyes for a minute. He looked up and he said, well, let's be the biggest group we can be.
The brothers immediately got to work recording their first album, It's About Time.
Steve Greenberg saw them as not a Christian rock band, but as a pop rock band, and that's what they became. And the name of the band? The Sons of Jonas.
Actually, when I auditioned, they told me their name was going to be the Jonas 3, which I still have written on my amplifier. Another one was Jonas, Jonas, Jonas. Kevin always wanted to name the band Run, Jonas, Run.
It was like almost like a school of rock period for the guys. They were young. You know, Nick was 13 years old, and just learning how to play guitar. He's obviously a very talented singer, but was just kind of learning the ropes of rock and roll at that point.
We were learning about ourselves still. We didn't know who we were as a band.
As the boys shaped their image, execs waffled over when to introduce their music to the masses.
The release date of our record will be pushed back a couple months, and then again, once again, pushed back.
It's extremely frustrating for all of them. And actually, that's why it's called It's About Time, is because they were just like, when is this thing going to come out?
In the meantime, Columbia sent the Jonas Brothers out on the road to open for acts like the Cheetah Girls, the Veronicas, and the Backstreet Boys.
We were on a tour to kind of build up our fan base. And the first show was so surreal for us because we'd never performed. We rehearsed for like weeks, and then to perform in front of that many people was so bizarre for us. We were just freaking out.
We were all a brand new band. I mean, like any new band, it's tough to just gel right off the bat for us.
It was about just trying different things, you know, not being afraid to experiment.
We sucked. We sucked. I remember coming off stage and really feeling like I was in the worst band in America. Just not together. It just wasn't there yet. We hadn't matured to a point where it really worked. The show was bad.
And the journey was worse.
We were traveling in a van with a big 2-axle trailer in the back loaded full of gear, and we were the roadies, and the boys were setting up stuff.
Their first tour, they were doing everything. Hauling their own equipment in and out at 6 a.m. and they were doing this day after day.
It was grueling, worked as hard as any band works. You know, slept in shared rooms, shared beds, all sorts of stuff.
Most people will be like, I am not doing this anymore. I just thought they will not stop till they are number one.
But the sudden change in Nick's behavior raised concerns.
Then we saw Nick becoming irritable, and it was different for him, and he would be quiet, and he would just drink so much water.
And on a ride home from Massachusetts, Nick just started screaming in the back of the car. He was like, my legs, my legs. And I was like, what's going on? I pulled the car over. I was like, what's the matter? Are you okay? And he's like, oh, my legs hurt so bad. And he had cramps in his legs. I could see it.
I told my parents that I thought something was wrong. And my mom saw my back and saw that where I usually have some meat, there was nothing there. Just bones.
And I got a phone call a few days later that said Nick was in the hospital. That was scary.
The grief and the fear was so overwhelming.
I think the thing that I was most afraid of was that this could be it, and that this was going to hold me back from doing what I loved.
I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to manage this, and I was just sad for him because I thought it was the end of their career.
It was such a shock to me. What did I possibly do to my child to make this happen?
13-year-old Nick Jonas was admitted to a New Jersey hospital in November 2005. Doctors performed a series of tests to find out what was causing his dramatic weight loss, fatigue, and mood swings. The diagnosis? type 1 juvenile diabetes.
When you hear diabetes, it can sound a little bit harsh, so I asked, am I going to die? It was definitely very scary because we didn't know what diabetes was. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. We were really upset. I mean, it's Nick, you know.
It was such a shock to me. What did I possibly do to my child to make this happen? It was so overwhelming, you know, it was so dark.
The doctor said this is something you can live with, you can manage, but it's going to be some major change in your life. So I spent the next couple days in the hospital learning all that I had to learn about diabetes and how to manage it.
I thought, how on earth can I keep all these diaries of food and learn all these carbohydrate counts and know how much insulin he needs?
A bit overwhelming, but it's all good. He said, we have to keep going. I want to get back out and play more shows. I feel fine, let's do it. And it was on, and it was back to the races and going for it.
Nick kept his health in check. Soon, the Jonases hit the road, playing high schools and growing their fan base.
Nick kind of had to take a back seat from being the frontman. He had first gotten diagnosed with diabetes, and so Joe kind of stepped from the shadow of the keyboard and started singing more, started jumping on top of speakers, and you can see he just turned into this monster on stage. I remember him climbing speakers in these small clubs, and I'm on stage just thinking he's going to fall off and we're all going to go home.
Joe was swinging from the lights and diving over the crowd, and Kevin was rocking out and doing flips on stage, and Nick was like soulful and alive and moved from drums to piano to guitar. And so I knew if the world saw them, that they would see how great they are. And eventually people would see this isn't just a teeny pop band.
It was happening for real. The record label really believed in it and was really fighting hard for it. We had money to get in rehearsal studios, money to be on tour, and they were helping support the project on and on.
But as the months passed, Kevin, Joe, and Nick began to wonder if their album would ever be released. Then, a corporate shakeup cost the brothers a major ally.
So after all this time, the album kept on being pushed, and it kind of wound up in a weird political situation at Columbia where Steve Greenberg was ousted as head of the label.
Every time we would take a step forward, the company had issues. We were finally ready to release our record, and then Steve gives us the news that he's going to have to leave and that our record is indefinitely pushed back.
And in a matter of a couple months, the Jonases were really going to have to fight to stay above water and to stay on that label. And I think they kind of realized maybe that wasn't the right home for them.
Without Greenberg in their corner, the boys decided to promote themselves.
What is this video about? I'm feeling really sick. I don't know.
The Jonas Brothers kind of got antsy, and they decided to do a little marketing on their own. And this is where they really started posting videos online and kind of trying to get their name out there a little bit.
I just want you guys to know that check for updates on MySpace and things like that, blah, 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 blah. But also, I'm sweet, we're sweet. Our album comes out August 7th. Pick it up, buy it.
At a certain point, promoting ourselves on YouTube was all we had.
This is a good example of viral marketing.
We're like, you know what, let's go and be creative and make funny videos, and then we'll somehow put our record in there. It just worked, and so the fans really loved it, and they kept wanting us to do it. I'm not angry.
Finally, Columbia released the Jonas Brothers' first single, Mandy, in December 2005. The catchy pop rock tune got some radio play, while the video landed on MTV's Total Request Live.
We're freaking out. We couldn't believe that we were on that show, especially for a band that's never had a video like that. There were so many people that showed up. That was a really good feeling for us.
I remember that when they were on TRL, and we all thought, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. Like, it's finally going to happen.
It was happening through hard work and not through PR people and publicists and the record label. It was happening through like internet chatter and middle school and high school girls being like, check it out, you gotta come to this show with me.
But when the album It's About Time hit stores in August 2006, sales were dismal.
The writing was kind of on the wall. It did just good enough, I think, to not be a total failure.
It sells about 65,000 copies according to our charts, which is not good. It can't really be thought of as a promising start to a new band.
some things just don't work out, and that was one of those things that just didn't work out the way we thought it would.
They just kind of got screwed with that first record, which was a bummer because we had spent a year promoting it, all leading up to this big release, and then nothing happened.
So we asked, can you please just let us go? And they said, okay, we'll let you go, and you can take the masters. You can take the songs, you can take the music, you can take the videos, you can take all those and hope the best for you. It was over before it even started.